Have you ever dreamed of living in an impeccably clean city, without a single piece of litter out of place, and where even chewing gum is banned? Yes, you heard that right. There's a country in the world where chewing gum is illegal. Welcome to Singapore, the city of skyscrapers and of the chewing gum ban. Today, we're going to discover how something as common as gum ended up on this country's blacklist. Is it really that big of a deal if someone drops gum on the sidewalk? And what happens if you're caught chewing one? So, sit back, get ready, and prepare to dive into the story of Singapore's forbidden gum. Let's get started. To understand why Singapore took such a radical step, we first need to learn a bit about the country's history and culture. Singapore is a small island nation in Southeast Asia, known for its extreme cleanliness, strict adherence to laws, and somewhat peculiar style of government. Since its independence in 1965, Singapore has mostly been governed by the same party, the People's Action Party, led by the strict Lee Kuan Yew. Under his leadership, Singapore went from being a city with high levels of poverty to a prosperous, modern metropolis. Lee Kuan Yew didn't hesitate to implement strict policies, and when we say strict, we mean fines for littering, cutting down trees, and even jaywalking. So when gum started to appear on the sidewalks, it was clear that sooner or later, someone was going to take action. Imagine this, you're walking through the streets of a city so clean that you could literally eat off the ground. Well, almost. But one day, you start seeing sticky, squashed chewing gums everywhere, on the sidewalks, on the doors of the subway, even on the elevator buttons. In the 1980s, as chewing gum grew in popularity, Singapore began noticing a problem in its public spaces. Gums were hard to clean, expensive to remove, and for a society so focused on cleanliness and order, they were practically an affront to public order. The final straw came in 1987, when Singapore opened its subway system. Some rebels thought it was hilarious to stick gums on the subway doors, causing malfunctions and delays. The solution? Lee Kuan Yew and his team decided that fines and signs were not enough. So, in 1992, they opted for a total ban. And that's how the famous law was born, making it illegal to chew, buy, or sell gum in Singapore. The Singapore Gum Control Law states that importing gum is prohibited. Yes, it's not just that you can't chew it, you can't even bring it into the country. If you're caught trafficking gum, you could face severe fines. And if you're caught selling it, you could face a fine of up to 100,000 Singapore dollars. That's how serious this is. Of course, there are always exceptions. In 2004, after years of pressure from the gum industry and a free trade agreement with the United States, Singapore finally made a concession. Now it's possible to get certain gums in pharmacies, but only with a prescription and only if they have some therapeutic benefit, like nicotine gum. Imagine asking your doctor for a gum prescription. The ban on gum in Singapore has had some curious effects. On one hand, it's become a sort of identity law. These days, saying you can't chew gum in Singapore is almost like an emblem. And it's even generated a kind of black market for gum. Yes, like contraband goods, some tourists and locals exchange gum secretly. But despite the initial complaints, Singapore's citizens don't seem too bothered. After all, the country remains clean, the streets are litter-free, and the public transportation system is impressively efficient. Most citizens accept the strict laws, and as they say, rules are rules. The gum ban in Singapore has been the subject of jokes and amazement worldwide. Tourists are shocked to learn about it, and many see the law as a curiosity. Some even carry gum in their pockets just for the thrill of saying they smuggled gum into Singapore. And international headlines didn't take long to dub Singapore the anti-gum country. However, for Singapore, the measure has been a declaration of intent. Here, cleanliness and order are the norm. This country has no tolerance for the minor slips that might be common in other places. The ban on gum in Singapore is a reminder of how a society's values can shape its laws. Sometimes, something as small as chewing gum can symbolize something much bigger. For Singapore, it represents an almost obsessive pursuit of cleanliness, respect for public spaces, and social discipline. However, it also raises interesting questions. Is it right for a government to ban something as trivial as gum? How far should regulation of personal behavior go? It's a topic without an easy answer, but one that gives us plenty to think about. And now, if you found this story about Singapore's gum ban interesting, don't forget to hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you never miss our curiosities and secrets of the world. Your support helps us keep creating original content like this. In summary, the story of the gum ban in Singapore is a lesson on how a nation can define its values through its laws, no matter how unusual they may seem. For some, it might be an exaggerated prohibition, for others, a sign of discipline. But, in the end, it reminds us that each culture has its quirks and that, however strange they may seem, behind every law, there's a reason. The story of gum in Singapore teaches us that sometimes even the simplest act can say a lot about how we live together as a society. Never underestimate the power of a piece of gum.